something horrible has happened. I have lost some footage to the end of this video. So I want to apologize firsthand for transferring the data from my awesome GoPro that works sometimes and not others, and I don't know why, but maybe I got a bad one. But transferring data from a GoPro to my laptop to try to get this video put in here and edited, I come to the realization that I'm missing the whole ending of my video. So I didn't get to show the application of the Corroseal, but I just wanted to apologize ahead of time and let you guys in on what had happened. So I don't have an ending for it. Typically I like to say, thank y'all for watching, and please like and subscribe and all that good stuff. So I figured I'd do the ending in the beginning just to kind of explain. So here it is. So thank y'all. Appreciate y'all watching. Hopefully you're getting something out of this. Hopefully it's worth your while. And I think I had some footage of after I'd applied the Corroseal in there. So see if we can come up with something else. But anyway, y'all have a great weekend. Hope you like the video. We'll catch y'all later. Right now we're going to start working on some of this rust. So I've got some tools set up here. I'm going to start with a wire brush on the grinder, and I'm going to start eating away at some of this rust that's in the jams here on this exterior emergency door, and try to grind some of this out. Now I have to get into these corners with the scraper and try to clean it up the best I can, and end up grinding the heavy stuff out, I guess, and then we're going to go with a orbital sander and sand the bigger areas with it. And of course all these cracks down in here, I figure I could probably take a scraper and just kind of cut as much of that out of there as I can, and then just try to sand the best I can to get down in there. So the product that I'm going to use once I get all this sanded down is called Corroseal, and I've used this before on a truck frame. And sorry about the lighting, it's kind of shaded back here, but I have used this on a truck frame before, and so I know that it works well. But I'm gonna have to, evidently we got to sand all this down, get it all cleaned up, and then mop this down, let it dry before we apply the Corroseal to get it to bond. And what it does, it's going to convert the rust back into metal, supposedly. So like I said, I did use it on a truck frame before, so I know that it did work on that. Of course I applied a matte black spray paint over top of that just to help with anything that I didn't get with this, any cracks or whatever. I brushed it on. So this I'm going to do a combination of brushing and rolling, and hopefully I've got almost a gallon of this left, so hoping that that'll make it through the rest of this floor here. But so we're still trucking along, making some progress, and since I work all the time, I've got my evenings and weekends is about the only time I've got to do anything. So we'll try to get some of this knocked out today, and then all right. So I've been experimenting a little bit with this rust and basically the rust removal. So I've been using a grinder with a brush on it. Been using that on like the heavier spots and in the corners, and it seems to be doing pretty good in the corners. And then for your big surface area, I mean, you've got a whole bus that's basically 8 foot by 30 foot of surface area I got up here. So it's about 200 some square feet. So the big surface area I'm using just a DeWalt sander, and I'm not affiliated with DeWalt by no means. I've kind of used whatever I found to pick up. I do like DeWalt stuff, but unfortunately this one starting to wear the pad out on it, and the disc doesn't want to stick to it anymore. It's not really all that old, but for some reason the pad is starting to wear out on it. So anyway, I'm using that for the big surface area, the flat spots of the bus. And with this Corroseal, you don't really have to get all the rust off per se. You just got to clean it, get it fairly smooth, and make sure you don't have any loose pieces, the scaling and things. So you can see where I've sanded a little bit in here, and I've hit some of this. You can see it's a little bit shinier than what it was before, and But this down in here where it's discolored, obviously was where the old rust came out. That's fine to leave with this stuff. It says a little bit of rust is fine. You just don't want the loose stuff in there. And you just brush it on and it'll turn black. If it's done its process, it should turn it completely black. If it hasn't completed the process, then it's going to be a grayish color, and at that point you're supposed to reapply more of the product onto the surfaces. So I didn't really want to bore y'all with me sanding the whole floor down, so probably just going to try to sand the biggest part of this down, see how much I can get done, and then I'll show y'all some of the finished product. But thank y'all for watching, and again, sorry about the lighting. I'm standing here in the shade, which is kind of nice having a shade tree, but it's not all that great for filming. But thank y'all. Hello everyone. Well, I wanted to explain a little bit about what I'm doing to these floors to get them prepped for the Corroseal to get rid of the rust completely. So I've had to come up with a little solution to keeping these rubber hoses that's running this heating unit out of the floor. I took some zip ties, kind of tied it up. Like I said, we're not for certain if we're going to reuse this thing or not, but I didn't want to unhook all of it yet, and so I just kind of left it sitting up on the wheel well because I didn't find any rust under that mat really, so I'm leaving the wheel well on there. Most of the rust that I had found came from just where it had set into the floor, and so obviously nothing's going to set on that hump. It would just have run off, and it's dry under there, so I'm not going to fool with taking that off. But I do have to go along, and in all these joints where they've got these pans that are they're welded together, bolted together, but you got to clean out these cracks and get all the dirt and stuff out of there, and then I'm gonna hit the floors one more time with the sander, and before I start putting the Corroseal on. But I just wanted to show you a little bit of the prep that it's taken. I have ran along the floors with the grinders. That's why the rust is a lighter color now. I've sanded it all, but again, with this Corroseal, you do not have to get all the rust off. Just any of the loose stuff and any kind of oil stains or you know, the caulking, obviously it's not going to stick to. So anything that's not going to stick to, you got to get it off. But it says you can leave the rust, just not anything that's loose and flaking off or scaling off. So you have to sand that down and get it ready to be sealed with the Corroseal. So I'm going to get on some of this and clean out these joints in between these pans here, and I'll show y'all a little bit of what's going on when I start applying the Corroseal. What I plan on doing is going around the edges first. So I'm going to do the outline of the bust, the edges and the trouble spots with one coat, and then I'll come back and you can actually roll this stuff on, and I'll roll the rest of the floor area. So for the most part, it's a lot of bag breaking work, but it didn't take too long. So I got a paint scraper here, and I'm just using this hook end of it for sticking it in there, getting the loose dirt out of the crack, and it seemed to work pretty well. Now I'm gonna take the leaf blower. I got everything out of there. It's just mainly dried up dirt that was stuck in there. I'm gonna take a leaf blower, blow all this out of here, and then I'm gonna have to wet mop it. I think I'm gonna use some really hot water to wet mop it so it'll dry faster. Good afternoon. So I'm back here today and I'm gonna start processing these seats. I want to save some of the metal out of them because there's some good angle iron and tubing in it. But I'm gonna start pulling the back of them off and the bottoms. And the bottoms are on with like some pipe clamps with a 3/8 inch little socket. So I'll show you that. So this is my pile of seats I've got sitting out here. So this little hex nut here is a 3/8 and that one. And I'm probably going to go and pull all the metal off just to be able to recycle it, to get rid of it. And I'm going to save, this is the angle iron I've been talking about. I want to save this angle iron and some of this tubing and use it for bracing to build some underbody boxes and things like that. So that's what I'm getting into today. And I haven't done a whole lot with the bus. I put the Corroseal on it, and I've actually going to end up having to do another coat. It's still got a little bit of orange rust coming through, and it's not black like it's supposed to be, so I'm gonna have to go back through and do another coat on the really bad spots. But of course this white section here is just the paint, and it's not going to turn black on that. It just stays kind of a clear. But as you can see into the corners, you know, where rust in here and over here, it's now black, so it's starting to do its job. But I'm going to have to go back through and hit these rough spots again, and then we're going to end up probably spraying all this down with some Rust-Oleum when we get to that point. But I wanted to be able to do some more stuff in here this weekend. I didn't want to soak the floor down with wet paint and been waiting on that to dry to walk on it and everything. And really the painting, I mean, it's going to get covered up, but the paint is just to protect it and to hopefully keep it to last a little bit longer. If it does get some water on it, it doesn't start rusting immediately. And then we've been figuring out the insulation, what we're going to do with the insulation, and we're going to take the white insulation that you see there and just feed it down into the bottom section in here, and just kind of stuff it in there to help fill that in. And then whatever gaps we've got, I may take some spray foam and squirt down in there too. But once the open bay is left, which will be up in this section, we're actually going to fur the walls out a little bit, and it's going to give us 3.5 inches. And you wouldn't think it'd be that thick, but from back in here to out to this little rub rail here, it's going to be at least 3.5 inches by the time I have to fur it out to be able to put some wood framing in there to be able to screw to, and to put some interior. I think we're going to do some kind of interior wood, shiplap, or maybe take some old pallet wood and do it. But leaning more towards the shiplap, just because I don't want to have to keep processing stuff. Takes a lot of time, it's time consuming. I like being able to use recycled materials, but you know, we're not wanting to spend a huge amount of time in this, and it's already going to take probably close to a year to get it all done. You know, hopefully sooner, but some things are expensive. Buying the tanks and the batteries and things like that does get expensive. So it all adds up, and we're just paying for stuff as we go along, so we don't have to borrow any money for anything. It'll all be paid for when it's done. So, but anyway, I'm gonna get back at it, and hope y'all enjoy. And I'm gonna start getting some more stuff going on. And once I start doing the insulating, I'll show you the type of insulation I'm gonna use. Actually, what I put into my house, and it's called rock wool. So rock wool is waterproof and fire resistant. I'm not for sure the exact temperature, but it's above 3,500 degrees. So it's basically spun slag metal, but it's got an R value of R15 versus the R13 of regular fiberglass insulation. So it gives you a little bit better R value, and it's the same thickness. But we'll see once we get these this white insulation out of the walls. We'll probably could go and start putting that in, because we're not going to have to really do anything to those cavities. And I've got a plan to run my electrical through my framing, kind of like what you would do in a house anyway. And I'm just going to make a channel for that to go through and put nail plates over it, just so I don't screw through it if I'm trying to, you know, put shiplap or framing walls out and things in here. So But I'll show y'all along the way what I'm gonna do, and you'll be able to see more step by step when it gets into the technical stuff. A lot of the stuff that I've been doing so far is just kind of monotonous, boring. You know, it's things that got to be done, like taking the seats out. But just didn't see a need. I mean, anybody, once you can figure out how to unbolt one, I don't really need to show you how to unbolt every seat. So I didn't want to waste your time with that. But we'll get into some better things and some more interesting things. And I'm gonna show you every step, but not really the whole thing of me actually doing the work of tearing stuff out. So, but anyway, I'll catch y'all later. So in tearing the seats off, basically what I did was went down through here and I just slid it with a utility knife. Went down through the bottom, across the bottom, and as you can see, there's a piece of board that's attached onto the bottom of this, and this is on here pretty good. I'm not planning on using any of this stuff, so I don't want to take up a lot of time trying to salvage the vinyl. Unfortunately, that piece of wood is on there. I'd like to be able to get rid of that. I could have just shoved this stuff down in a trash bag and done away with it. And then here is the foam that's on the inside of the padding, and so it's just made to where it slides right over the back of here. So here's another interesting thing, is this has got this sheet metal piece which is spot welded in here. You can see where it's done broke loose from the welds. And then this, of course, metal to me, it's not going to be worth much, so I'm just going to take it to the local recycling center and see what I can get out of whatever I don't use on these, and just to be able to, somebody may be able to use the metal. But anyway, just wanted to catch you up on what I was doing and how I took the seat off. It really didn't take long to pull it off at all, just by cutting down the one edge with the utility knife and across the bottom to get it to come loose. So you can see the whole process there, and unfortunately I got a bunch more to do.